YouTube. There we go. Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Dan Mangina and Alex King doing the mambo in the end zone. Today is Tuesday, December the 3rd, 2019. It's 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy, where you learn all kinds of things. I am learning things about hair bonnets I didn't even know existed an hour ago. It's just incredible.
The world expands with every morsel of data and information, even on its shaped.
It's an education. It truly is an education.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'll do with this education, but it certainly is an education, no doubt.
Well, you can talk to your sister-in-law about how she wraps her hair.
Okay. That'll be a fun conversation. So, Lee, you know. So tell me about when you wrap your hair. I mean, I don't even know how to begin that conversation. I mean, do you wrap it clockwise, counterclockwise?
That's important. It depends on the part. That's important.
See,
and where the crown is, because
and if you have a cowlick, you have to work around that too. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've had a cowlick since I was very young, so I mean, I'd have to do it like counter and clockwise at the same time or something. I mean,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the advantages of actually having white hair. It all falls apart, so there's no cowlick anymore.
Oh man, fantastic.
You could tell I really did miss doing the podcast for like 3 days last week. You know, we had 2 shows out of 5, and I was in withdrawal. I mean, that's all there is to it. I was just in withdrawal. And I know our listeners were, so everybody, we're back, we're excited, and Dan and Alex are dancing, so you know things are good. By the way, I also want to take a little time to remind people who have not yet heard, who are interested in working on your own stuff that you're trying to attract in a supportive group atmosphere. We've set up a group on Facebook called Law of Attraction Pivot Pals, and people are starting to find it. Some listeners have started to sign up as members, and we want to invite everybody else to join in. The basic theme of the group is pretty simple. We're inviting people to basically post little vignettes of what it is they're trying to attract, and then to come back each day and read their own vignettes and mention that they read it again. And it's basically like journaling or doing daily affirmations, but doing it in a private group session where you're getting a whole lot of support. So, like I've posted 3 of them so far, I think. And it's great. Every time I go onto Facebook, I actually have stuff, people responding to me on stuff that I actually want to hear about.
Right.
It's my stuff, right?
That's what happens when you make your own group. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It's not, what the latest news information is, or, what's going on with my sister-in-law's hair wrap or whatever.
I was waiting for the hair wrap.
I'm glad I didn't disappoint you, Dan. I would hate to disappoint you.
Alex is out of a job. He's getting that comedic timing down.
I'm rubbing off on him.
I've learned a lot from Alex, I have to say. It's true. But please do become a member. I'll be glad to let you in. And we're getting some interesting posts from people in the group. It's kind of fun to see what people are trying to attract, what they're focusing their attention on. And I have to also do a shout out to Jeffrey, who of course is our most regular live stream listener, and he has jumped in with both feet in the group, and I'm telling you, the guy is great. He is great at details. I mean, he posts a vignette, and I mean, it's almost like you're hearing him describe a painting by Vermeer. It's just full of all the details of it. It's fabulous. So, I mean, Jeffrey has set a very high bar, folks, but we won't require that you do the same thing. All we ask you that you come in and participate. But just in case you want to see how it's done right, look at Jeffrey's. Good stuff.
There you go. Now, who came up with this group and what?
I actually founded this group about a year ago, and I didn't really have a definite concept in mind, other than I knew that it would be good if we had a way for people to support each other in terms of learning law of attraction. And so I just put it out there, and a few people signed up, and then it didn't go anywhere because I didn't have a clear concept of the group.
Right.
And then I've been thinking about it lately and saying, we really do need to have ways to support each other more formally, I think is the word. And so I said, well, let's use the Pivot Pals group. So I kind of resurrected it, renamed it to put the words law of attraction in it. And, here we are doing it on a daily basis now. And I have to admit, it's helping me too. Because, I mean, we all, you know how it is. You have like your daily routine, right?
Right.
And my daily routine has kind of evolved over time to the point where some of the stuff that I used to do, I don't do anymore. Well, having it in writing like that, especially in a private group, where it almost gives you the feeling of being beholden to somebody else. Like, okay, I did say I was going to go reread my thing every day, and I was going to say, yep, I reread it for another minute, so I did my focusing and raising my vibration and all that kind of thing. Kind of
accountability.
It's accountability.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. So please join the group.
Solid members, I can probably throw you away from my Dream with Dan group. So why don't when you've got 5 minutes, we do a live on my Dream with Dan group.
Sure.
There some traffic.
Yeah, glad to do that. That'd be fine. By the way, if you could do something to turn your volume up, you're a little bit soft. So
that's because I was talking soft, but now I'm talking more.
He was using his inside voice.
His inside voice, yes. Well, here on the podcast, there's no such thing as an inside voice because no one will hear you. So
nope.
Please do an outside voice. Yes. Now, I don't know if you guys get the daily quote emails from Abraham Hicks.
All right.
Okay, well, that's an interesting reaction. That's a yes, no. So, anyway, there was a really good one that came today. Most of them are good, but this one just kind of caught my attention. So I figured it's a good way to kind of get the conversation going today. It says, but it does take the determination that you're going to put your thoughts upon something that does feel good. And so here, we're going to make a very bold statement. Any disease could be healed in a matter of days, any disease, if distraction from it could occur and a different vibration dominate. And the healing time is about how much mix-up there is in all of that. Now, that may not be the best English in the world, but what a concept that is. You could have, stage 4 cancer, and you could eliminate it in a matter of days, according to what they're talking about here. The thing that holds us back is that, what's the way they say it, if distraction from it could occur and a different vibration dominate. Well, when you're dealing with something like terminal cancer, it's about the last thing that's on your mind is, I can be distracted from it. It's not going to be part of my mindset. In fact, I'm going to vibrate on a different vibration. That's not the way it normally works for people in real life. And then added in is the healing time is about how much mix-up there is in all of that. And that mix-up, that caught my attention. Because, Alex, you and I did a show about a month ago that I think we called something like When We Don't Notice Manifestations or something along that line.
Right.
And that's a big deal. It's a very common thing. We'll put something out there, we'll manifest something, and then we won't notice and we won't realize we actually did it. But another big deal is when we manifest something and we notice it and we don't give ourselves full credit for it. It's like we believe it, but we don't quite believe it. You know what I mean, Dan? Have you experienced that? Have you had that with your crew and so forth?
I have had that, and that's like one of the things about celebration being such a big point. It's consciously connecting yourself to acknowledging the experience and doing high vibration activity to anchor that experience in. One of the reasons I found
outside voice, please.
One of the reasons that I found that a lot of people just go back into old ways of being and don't end up building a momentum in the direction of what they want is that they don't take that second out to acknowledge it. And oftentimes I found that non-acknowledgement is either because we actually don't want to move that momentum forward, which is the self-sabotage, self-destructive tendencies. And another thing is that, like you said, we just don't actually acknowledge it as being that. Some people, that was great, but what about that? Or that was great, but it was only one time. Yeah. And all these things tend to be indicative of not really believing that you're worthy of it, or consciously still being addicted to the patterns of behavior that are contrary to that experience. So, I made some money, but it wasn't as much as I needed. I made some money. Now I'm going to have to pay more taxes, etc., 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 because there's still an attachment to the lack. There's still to the stress, right? And generally, even when there's a peak up, that's when we revert back. It's like the lottery winner that within 5 years all go, 90% of the lottery winners go back to exactly where they were. If they're rich or middle class, it's the same thing. That spike, that distraction, that momentary distraction that allowed for a new experience wasn't permitted to hold because we got caught in the old pattern.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, what you immediately came into the mic, you were good, and then you fell back again. So you got to do something to either make the mic closer or turn the volume up because it's good part of the time. But yeah, that's right. Put it right in front of you. You can't miss it.
That's me in my mind. That's me in my mind.
Oh my God.
That works. I like that. That's a great explanation, though, because it is a number of factors. It's a combination of things. It's the old tapes that are playing. It's falling back on the old patterns because they're the comfortable old patterns. It's actually defending the old patterns. I've been noticing that in myself a lot lately. Like, wow, I will go out of my way to defend stuff that I really don't like at all. I do that.
Facts.
And I see it in other people as well. I mean, it's a form of addiction almost. More accurately, it's a deeply ingrained pattern. And once it's that deeply ingrained, it takes a while to get it out there, to get it out and removed and kind of rooted out. But you hit upon it, Dan, when you said one of the best ways to start rooting it out is through appreciation, recognition and appreciation, and getting excited, doing some celebrating. Celebrating is a good thing.
Disrupting the pattern. I mean, I asked this question the other day. I think I did longer form. I did actually. I posted it to my Instagram as well. That, like, what are you committed to? So many people don't take the time to get consciously aware of the experiences that they're committed to, which is showing up as those patterns that they keep playing out.
Yeah.
There's a commitment subconsciously to the experience that plays itself out as connecting people, places, and things, not celebrating, just reinforcing those same stories. And that's because deep down we are deeply committed to that. I mean, we will all have that in some area. I had it myself. When I found it, I was like, wow, how funny. I didn't realize that the reason why that particular part of my life was continually showing up that way is because there was a deep rooted commitment to the payoffs that were being had from having those types of experiences. Once you bring it up to the light, then you can start disrupting it more permanently and making change.
It's true. What are some of the payoffs that you see people hanging on to? I mean, it's kind of a weird word to describe it as a payoff, but it is. It's a payoff, even if we don't really think of it that way.
I could give a personal one. For me, it's being a victim. But for me, it's being a victim in really creative ways. I've actually had to give my subconscious mind an Oscar, like the best screenwriter for the number of ways that stories are constructed to validate the victim story. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, once you start actually owning it. So for me, a variety was not that I would be, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim, but actually subconsciously creating victim type scenarios, overcoming them, and then celebrating it afterwards, right? Oh my goodness, can you believe that happened? But it's okay, because in my infinite connection to source, I was quite able to overcome said situation. And here I am, the guru resulting.
That's a guru resulting.
It's like,
that does deserve an Oscar. Yeah.
Just not create it in the first place and just be happy. It's like,
right. Like,
it's a long way to go for a plastic stroke.
Let's cut out the middleman.
Let's cut out the middle manning.
Yeah.
Being happy, which doesn't require any of the narrative and story. But for me, it's just all these really. And then as I started to catch that, what I noticed was the mind then started creating these holographic representations of genuine reasons to be unhappy about stuff, and then completely lose sight of the fact that every single part of that experience is only being witnessed as I'm choosing to experience it anyway. Why not just witness it as something else? This person's doing that, but it's okay. I can be the bigger person. Or you could completely witness something else and just re-know the experience.
Yeah.
Middleman. So that's me anyway. Victim. That was my one. That's one I'm watching very interestingly at the moment, because the number of opportunities that are being presented, to be the empowered victim, as I call it, is really, really fascinating. So yeah, definitely a nomination going in there.
You've got my vote. I'm telling you. I think you get the Oscar for that.
Empowered victim. I like that.
Yeah, I can. I'm imagining all these people I know in my life who definitely qualify as empowered victims. I mean,
yeah. Victimhood comes in many different guises. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you've been beaten up on or, you know, attacked verbally or emotionally. Sometimes we create victims of ourselves, either by stepping into allowing, encouraging, or supporting behavior, by not having loving boundaries, or perpetuating patterns of the type of people that we associate with, which is another one I found. I found that there's always one person that walks all over me in my life. There's always one. And I've actually tracked it back. And when I get rid of that one, I've been allowing another one in, and then another one in, and then allowing another one in. And I haven't done that in a very long time, but I witnessed myself almost encouraging another relationship, which I saw was exactly the same pattern. And as I caught it, I was like, oh, that's that same old story trying to make a resurgence. But you shall not pass. And that was
did that actually work?
Yeah, it did. So, but this is real. This is what it's like in the trenches of actually living an empowered life. It's, you know, it's not all joy and rainbows and unicorns. Unicorns are real people, just for those of you. And here's one. Yeah, but in the trenches, there are these experiences. There's owning some stuff. There's moving through some stuff. There's maybe owning that you are the person that is bringing the stuff to the situation. You know, but that's okay, because guess what? New now, new moment, and nowly you can shift and transmute into something else, but only if you own it.
That ownership part is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a tendency to objectify everything. I mean, it's not a normal experience for most of us to say, yep, that was me. Yep, that was me. Yep, that was me. Yeah, that too. Yeah, and that. And
my bad.
It's usually this and that and that and that, and a lot of finger pointing that goes on. You know? Finger pointing is a lot easier, and it's a lot more familiar, and it feels safer, which is ironic because it's about as unsafe as you can be, but nevertheless, we feel like it's safer.
But then you don't have to take responsibility, and then it can be everyone's fault but yours.
That's right.
Actual factuals, right there. Bam.
Boss. Oh, it's my boss's fault. You know, it's my children's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. They're all just shadows, mirrors, and reflections of something going on, right? And at a purely rudimentary, three-dimensional level, you still have the choice about whether you even engage with them or not. Does that mean that I had this. Someone asked me a question the other day about, you know, the holidays are coming up. And yeah, it's all very well and good with loving boundaries, but what about family? Didn't say it's going to be easy. It said it's possible.
That's true.
You know, so
when we have these scenarios that keep popping up, my cats decide to start eating the paper again.
Nice.
But he does own it.
He's got a paper eating problem.
No, actually, it's his way of saying, I want to be out. Let me out. It's a communication.
There are worse ways to do that.
There are better ways, too. I mean, he could just come say meow, and I'd actually understand what he was saying.
Facts.
But where I was trying to go to is we tended to express these things in terms of, like the way you said it, well, you know, why don't I do this? We tended to say it in terms of why don't or why can't, or, you know, focusing at the fact that I screwed up in some way. And have you noticed it's a big challenge to try to change the way we talk to ourselves about stuff like that to something more like, I would like to think of it this way, instead of, why don't I think of it this way?
Right.
I have to actually stop myself and refocus and say, okay, how do I express this completely in the affirmative? Because I'm so out of practice, I've forgotten how to do it. It's almost like I'm learning to walk again.
Yeah.
We've spent a lifetime learning to do things differently, though. It's the social norm. The social norm is that we blame others. We're not taught any form of autonomy. We're brought up from parents to school to job to pension. Everything in our lives, the very lifeblood that supports us and empowers us to make choices in how we live our life and how we experience our life, is left in the hands of others. We are not taught autonomy. It's just not something that we're taught. And those who seek to break free from that are considered overly risk takers, irresponsible, so on and so forth. So like you say, when we are then moving into having more self-autonomy, more responsibility, it's just so disassociated from every other part of the experience that we've been having that it just becomes this crazy challenge.
It is. So what's your best way to overcome that? I mean, I guess it just amounts to rewriting the tape, right?
Yeah, in microshifts, definitely in microshifts. Taking those baby steps, and as you take those baby steps,
or in some cases, doggy paws.
I have to cut his nails. I'm so sorry. He's taking his time trying to get on his bed, but he's like, he's got to size it up and then do the big jump.
And the funny thing was,
okay,
he's doing building work, and they've started to build. Can you hear that drill?
No.
Oh, brilliant! You can't hear it because I can. But yeah, baby steps, like taking baby steps into responsibility. So finding pockets of your life where you can start accepting responsibility and playing it out in a very low stress way. Taste and see that it's good, feel into it and start expanding that into other areas of your life. Some people make the mistake of saying, okay, I'm going to go and leave my job and go and be an entrepreneur now. You might not be an entrepreneur. You actually probably might be better off working for someone. 80-20 rule says that 80% of people are better off working for someone else. But there are pockets of your life where you can seize it back. So find where those pockets are, push your edge without pushing your buttons, and start easing into it, witnessing it, celebrating it, easing into it, witnessing it and celebrating, and taking that power back. So even in those areas where it is optimal for someone else to be the one in the driver's seat, right? Or for someone else to be taking more of the responsibility, you are at least in the driver's seat and choosing who that person is, rather than just flying into, this is the way it's always been done. Like that story about the woman who cuts the ends off her beef roast or whatever it is. And then she goes back 3 generations and finds out that mum said, oh, this is the way my mum told me to do it. And her grandma says, that's the way my mum told me to do it. And great grandma's like, oh, it's because we had an oven that was too small, so we had to do that. Mindlessly following this pattern of behavior, thinking it's the way that it has to be done, right?
Right.
Cutting themselves off from those extra bits of juicy meat on the end. Sorry for the vegans in the audience, but I like for the sake of something that everyone just says that's the way that things are supposed to be done, right? So,
it's a great point. A lot of it is generational. We do learn this stuff from our parents, from our adults, people when we're kids, from elders. I never did totally understand why it was that we should listen to our elders, because our elders seem so messed up.
Yeah, man. They've seen some stuff.
And now that I've become more of an elder, I have to agree, it's true.
Yeah.
It's
facts.
I think we'd do a whole lot better job if we paid more attention and followed the lead of the kids. The kids
Agreed.
have it. They get it. They get it and they can't even explain it necessarily. They just kind of do it.
It's discernment, right? I think the blanketly following children, or blindly.
That's good. Nice attempt to invent an adverb, though. I like that.
Applying some discernment and saying, okay, do you know what? Dad, you've got this bit down, but the rest of it, bye, Felicia.
Facts.
I love the way you do that, but I'm not necessarily going to eat that juice from that part of my body. Cool, I get that. Love the play, not the bogey. Like, there are pieces that are cool, but again, it's autonomy, right? Autonomy and discernment, applying discernment. But that requires thinking and using our nuggets, which is just not something that society, as a society, that we're encouraged to do.
So I guess it's about trying to make one small shift at a time. That's what the microshift approach is, right?
That's what the microshift is. Microshift is just a series of baby steps, consciously made, deliberately made in the pursuit of a consciously chosen outcome. So we find the minimum deliverable, we push that edge a little bit, we witness it, we celebrate it, we anchor it in, and then consciously choose what the next step is going to be. And by doing that, everybody can make big leaps. Everyone can do it. I've done Tony Robbins' work. Massive action. I get it. I really, really do. but massive action taken in baby steps will always win.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Because the subconscious blocks, you ninja slip past those. The limiting beliefs, you ninja slip past those. The procrastination, you ninja slip past those. Everything, because it's not a big jump. It's what is the minimum deliverable, the smallest thing that I know I can definitely do in the direction of what I believe might be possible. I don't have to even fully believe in the whole thing. I can commit to the minimum deliverable baby step. I can commit to that. But if I'm doing that consistently, then I must end up where I'm going.
So talk about that a little bit more, because it's a great concept, the idea of taking massive leaps and baby steps. It sounds contradictory. I mean, it's either a massive leap or a baby step. Make up your mind. Which is it, Dan? But you have a clear idea there. Talk about what that clear idea is.
So the clear idea is that, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So what happens is people just think about the 1,000 miles and how tiring that's going to be. They don't have enough food for the journey. What's the weather going to be like in Acapulco? Even though what's my mum going to think? Do they have my favorite ale? Like all of these things, right? We get caught up in all of these stories, which are really just the subconscious mind trying to keep us safe by keeping us in the same thing now, which is not going anywhere. The mind, generally speaking, doesn't want us to go anywhere, because for many of us, the idea, the vision that we hold in our mind is that we must stay here, it must be safe. And as I always say, the mind isn't doing this because it's our enemy. This isn't a hate the mind exercise. The mind's doing it to keep us safe because it loves us. That's its job, to keep things the same. But when you consider the fact that none of us were born here and now, this moment, with this vision or this image that we have in the mind, it was accumulated over time. So if we simply use the same methodology to create a new pattern, which created the pattern that's there already, which is that over time, evidence accrued that created a vision that the mind then said, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. A large chunk of that happens between the age of 2 and 7, when there's no filter. We're just being dumped with all of this stuff. We're just witnessing this stuff. Okay, that's supposed to do with money. This is what a happy relationship is. It's okay to kiss girls, like whatever, right? We pull those stories in, and then we start to get hormonal stuff happen as we're a teenager. We start to develop the whole tribal thing, and we're doing that, reinforcing through the lens of what we learn. And then we go into adulthood and we start making more choices. Generally speaking, we start to have some independence, but all of that's generally had within the lens of these things. And then we get to midlife crisis and realize that none of that was our story, right? We scramble and try and find that story. People run to have an affair, to leave their family and go and do biking across India, all this random stuff, because there's a massive freak out, because they realize, oh my goodness, this wasn't my story. But if we just asked ourselves, okay, this is something that I think might be possible. This is something that I think I might like. This is something that I might want to try out. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's definite as an end result, because I just might not have the depth of belief in it, or I might not have the openness to possibilities to commit to that. But my thing of retiring to Tuscany, some friends of mine are retiring to Tuscany, and I've been supporting them with that.
Nice.
If I could, what? The first step would be just looking at what's possible in terms of houses there, and that's all I'm going to do today. I make that step. Now, I've made a move in the right direction. B, I've now started to collapse ideas and fears about what is and isn't possible by getting some facts in front of me. I've taken a step. Then it might be, okay, let me see one way that I might be able to start creating some residual income that might support me moving there. I'm not going to create the income. I'm not even going to take a step towards it. I'm just going to look at what's possible. I'm just making these exploratory steps in the right direction. But what starts to happen is the stories that my mind was telling me about it not being possible, I can't do it, I can't afford it, it's too far-fetched, those have to fall down, because the mind doesn't lie to itself. It doesn't lie to us either. It just goes on the facts. So when I consciously make that baby step into introducing facts that support what I want to experience, all of a sudden it becomes more and more of a possibility. And then when I start to make bigger steps later on, the flashing lights and the warning signs that the mind's going to say, oh no, it's not possible, I don't have those anymore, because I've broken down those stories before with these earlier microchips, with those earlier steps. So then as I get deeper into the process and get closer and closer and closer, as you know, where you place your attention, where you place your energy, what we pay attention to expands. And so as I'm looking more and more at these possibilities, guess what's going to start happening? Possibilities, synchronicities, and opportunities, because now all of a sudden I'm actually able to witness them And I'm actually going to start calling them in through the law of attraction because I'm starting to vibrate at the frequency of that possibility versus it's not possible. I can't do it. It's just a dream. Now it's not a dream. It's something that might be possible. I'm not saying it's definite. It just has to be possible for me to witness more of that possibility. And if I'm truly committed to it as a desire, then witnessing those synchronicities, witnessing those possibilities, I can start to hold the light of making more and more of those microshifts in the direction of it. And then before you know it, you can get there.
That's fabulous. Great description there.
Mm-hmm.
As you talked about the fact that the mind, the brain, is doing what it's supposed to do. It's not working against you. It's not some sort of a trap, whatever. It's just simply doing what it's programmed to do.
Blame story. Big walk, man. It's just a blame story. Oh, I'd love to, but my limiting beliefs in my subconscious mind.
Oh,
Blah,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah. You have a choice.
You even did that almost in Christmas. Blah, 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 blah. No, I mean...
Oh, wow.
But it really caught my attention because, I mean, today, if you get a computer, today it's pre-programmed, especially if it's a phone. You know, it's got all this stuff already programmed into it. You don't have to know anything about programming. But at the very beginning of the PC age, I was part of that very beginning. If you got a computer, an early computer, and you turned it on and you looked at it, it kind of looked back at you. I mean, it didn't do anything. It just sat there. And so you might type into it something like, I want $1,000. And all that would happen is it would type, I want $1,000. And that's all it would do. It wouldn't do anything else.
It was just an echo.
That's it. It was just an echo. Mm-hmm. And it really struck home that this computer wasn't going to do anything until I programmed it to do something.
Mm.
I couldn't rely on somebody else to write a program for me. Actually, when the first commercial program came out, I said, oh, great, I don't have to program this. But we don't have that experience anymore. I mean, people now get handed the devices pre-programmed with everything. I'm not saying we should go back to primitive computers. I'm saying that it would be great for people to have the experience of being faced with a computer and faced with the task of, oh, it's up to me to decide what this computer is going to do. What do I want this computer to do, and what steps am I going to take to program it? And you just described some great steps to take to program your own computer. But wouldn't it be great if we just, we're faced with that more often, like, okay, my computer, my brain is sitting here waiting for me to program. What am I going to program into it?
Mm. The only difference is that it's not waiting for a program, it's always getting them from the subconscious.
Yeah, well, there's that too. But how to get in the subconscious, You
can blame them just, I'm just surrendering. Meanwhile, the subconscious mind, okay, mate, you keep surrendering while I keep programming. That's just what's happening. It's waiting for us to take up our seat as the author and creator of our lives and consciously step up to the plate and hit this one home. Every moment, every now, we have the opportunity to do that. But so long as we're blaming, so long as we're passing the buck, surrendering, leaving it to... I'm not going to get into that one because that's another conversation. Right? So long as we're doing that, then, good luck changing the situation, right? Good luck changing the experience, because unless you change it, you're going to keep getting, right? So.
Right.
And you made the point about the subconscious mind. It's already been programmed. The subconscious mind is kind of redoing the programming. Well, how did it get into the subconscious mind in the first place? Well, because we programmed it there.
Facts.
So once again, oh God, I can't run away from my own programming. There it is. It just came right back to me. Exactly what I typed into the computer is what came back.
Yeah.
And you know what? And this is the thing I've had, and I actually had this epiphany the other day. I was working out something. I was like, my stuff works. What's the line between the people that are into it and the people that aren't? And I realized it's the people that don't want to work.
Yeah.
Because I don't sell the dream. Like a lot of people sell the dream because that's what marketing, they sell dreams. Those of us that aren't selling dreams, we're just telling it like it is. Sorry, mate, just writing something down 10 times a day is not going to change your life.
Say it again for the people in the back.
You're going to have to do something. I'd have to do something. Oh, no, sorry.
I'm out.
Well, you're also setting yourself up for the people to say, wait a minute. No, you don't have to do something. It's pure law of attraction. You can just attract it to yourself.
But the law of attraction requires you actually stepping into the vibrational frequency of what you want, which is work. Right?
Wait a minute. You're saying that it's work to become vibrationally equivalent?
It's like, I'm a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love his work, changed my life completely. But the sad fact is you get people that are, I mean, getting a ticket to one of these events now is crazy. It's like going to an event, a concert, they sell out in like half an hour. It's really, really crazy. Like 2,000 people will sell out in half an hour, right?
Wow.
But the more and more you speak to people, you're starting to hear that people just want to go to the event because they think that their life's going to change just by going to the event. Or if they go to events, if I go to enough events, it's going to happen.
Right.
And that's never one of the things I love about Dr. Joe. He's never said that. He says, do the work. You have to do the work. Don't get up from your meditation and expect yourself to have a change if you're not getting up as a different person that sat down to meditate. But people are like, oh, I've done my meditation. Why is my abundance not here?
I love the way Mike Dooley tells this one. He gives the example of going on a trip. And he says, okay, so you're in the car and you've turned on the engine and the vision board is in the back seat and you've got a copy of The Secret over on the right-hand seat. and you're listening to your affirmation tapes, but nothing happens because you don't put the car in gear. Which is a form of doing.
And sometimes the only doing that's required is to reach out your hands and receive.
Yeah.
If that's what you've set up to experience.
That's right.
But you're only going to experience what you're vibrational match to. And if you haven't done the work of breaking the agreements to work being necessary, breaking the agreement to time so that it's going to take time, breaking the agreements with those disempowering belief systems and patterns that you're playing out. If you haven't done the work of breaking those agreements, no meditation is going to save you. I've got my new Stop Meditating hat and I'm wearing it in my videos now. Not because I'm saying it's wrong, but you've meditated, now get up and do something about what you meditated on. Now get up and actually receive the experience by standing up as a different person, making different choices aligned with the vibration that you've chosen. The rampage is nonsense if you get up from the rampage and then just go back to, oh, my life is goodness. I would just rampage for 10 minutes about all the things I'm grateful for and then get up and start complaining again. Yeah. What was the point in that rampage?
Well, basically, it created a lot of confusion.
If that was your goal, good for you.
But where there's confusion, what will always take sway is a subconscious mind. It moves at 10,000 to 10 million times the speed of the conscious mind. That confusion is happening at a conscious level. Subconsciously, there is no confusion. The subconscious mind is very clear on what it's going to do, and it never, ever, ever loses. Never.
Thank God we can reprogram it. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble.
Facts, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really true. Isn't it amazing how we get worked up about this thing of having to do something, and that we turn it? I mean, there's a whole thing about work. Oh, I have to go to work. You know, there's this whole negative thing. Work is a drag. Work is so hard. Work is rough. I'm so sick of work. We have this whole thing about work. No wonder we don't want to actually do the work. We've got this whole mental
negative connotation towards the word work. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the work that works. And the second that we start recognizing that the work can be a joy and start actually reframing our attitude towards the work to the payoff of it, then we can start finding some joy in the transformation rather than, loving the process, right? You have to fall in love with the process. Otherwise you're finished, really. But that can only happen when we stop seeing it as an enemy, right? We start seeing something to be excited about. Yeah, there's maybe some bumps in the road. I'm undoing sometimes generation after generation of disempowering belief systems and patterns of behavior. The buck stops here with me, though. I'm ready to dig in and do it because I'm committed to the experience on the other side of it.
I've been experiencing both the reality of it and the metaphor of it all wrapped up into one because I've been learning some new programming, literally computer programming. And it's a form of programming that I had a major, huge, gigantic resistance to because the first time around I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I just kept running into roadblocks. And I don't understand this. What the heck are they talking about here? I didn't understand it at all. And I developed such a negative feeling about it that I didn't even want to have anything to do with it. Like I've said previously, about a year ago, I would have said, well, I'm just never going to do it again. I don't want to have to deal with that.
You did say it a year ago.
I did.
You did.
I know I did. And probably many times. Probably, weeks at a time.
Right.
So I had it well programmed into the subconscious mind.
Yep.
But then a funny thing happened. I realized that so many of the things I've been wanting to have happen in my life, so many of the things I wanted to bring into my life were directly tied to me learning to program again. And not just physically programmed, but metaphorically. They go together. One is actually a skill for the other. And so it gave me, you talk about reframing, Dan, that gave me my way to reframe it.
Beautiful.
Because now I reframed it as, I'm not just learning how to program on this platform that I didn't really know before. I'm also learning how to program my subconscious mind. I'm learning how to reprogram my desires, my wants, my needs, so that my mind is actually playing them the way I want them to play, rather than the way it's been playing against me.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a big deal. I'm more and more amazed at how the whole metaphor of a computer program is more than a metaphor. It's a reality. It's a reality that I have been taking for granted in ways that I hadn't even thought about before. And I'm not saying that everybody should go out and become a computer programmer, although it's not a bad thing to dabble in it just to get the experience of it. Not because you need to go, write programs, but just to experience that thing.
A little taste.
Just a taste. That's right. Yeah.
Well, my generation, I think Dan was in it too. Back in the day when MySpace was a thing, we all got a little taste of programming, because if you wanted your page to be the coolest, you had to learn how to HTML your whole situation.
That's true. Yeah.
Let's get those P in. Slash that \P to close that paragraph.
Which was good. I mean, that gave people a taste of what HTML is, which is still the basis of a lot of web programming anyway. So, it's not like you learn something that's useless. It actually has carried on. Virtually every web page you go to has lots of little P's with little brackets around them. Even though you don't see them, but still there.
And now with the younger generation, they're introducing STEM more into, school and stuff like that. So it's becoming a thing to be able to program your own stuff. And there's going to be little inventors all over the world.
Now, do you see, I don't have any, I don't see any of that. It's not part of my experience. So from what you see, do you see that as a way that people are learning to take control of their own autonomy, to use Dan's words, to be more in charge of their own programming?
I would say, yeah. I say that the age that they're starting at like 7 or 8, which is right.
Yep. She just got interrupted.
Sorry, I don't know why people don't know. Don't call me between 4 and 5. Like, hello, guys. And it's one of the people that watch the podcast. So it's like, why are you calling me right now? Like,
I've got amazing input. I've just got to tell you now, Alex.
Right.
Now.
Like, bro.
Maybe he was watching the live stream. He just had to tell you.
It's like, it's Tuesday. Gosh. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so they're starting at the age of 8 and they're introducing STEM. And I notice it's a lot more of a push for girls than it is for boys. And I think that's great. But at the same time, I feel like we need to push everybody if we're going to push it. But yeah, they're starting STEM in Girl Scouts now. They're starting STEM in just in school in general, like as a regular class. That was also goes along with meditation. So I feel like it's a combination with the two. We can have a whole new generation of kids.
And for those who don't know STEM, because it's not something we've talked about much at all, I don't
think.
Talk about what STEM is.
I forget what it stands for, but it's basically programming and robotics and all that good stuff that we depend on today. They're teaching the 8-year-olds how to do it. So there'll be more Steve Jobs as we get older.
So they know how to turn off the computers and the robots later.
Not even. They know how to make the robots.
Yeah, and then turn them off later when they try and take over the world.
Oh, hopefully.
Or even better, reprogramming the whole social economic consciousness that says the robots aren't going to try to take over the world. We're in charge of the robots. Dan's not actually buying that.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
It's a great example, though.
I knew a guy who said he wouldn't put an Alexa in his house because in case he had accidentally, and I'm putting this lightly, accidentally committed a murder, he didn't want Alexa to report him. I said, what? He said, I don't want any physical evidence of the actual murder. I was like, oh my God.
I want to know how you can accidentally commit a murder. I'm just curious about that one.
I don't want to know that one.
I don't know. I think
Alexa's powerful.
I think I put the word accidental in there, but
I see.
He definitely said, if I commit a murder, Alexa will report me. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, so I'm not visiting your house.
Yeah, I'm out.
But yeah, Rainbow Bloods, murder to kill up, clean up. Alexa, I think it's really great. I'm planning on doing some stuff with voice. Do it with Dan Daly, planning to put on Alexa skills and stuff, and all sorts of groovy stuff. But
Cool.
we are going that way, though. But you know, even now, I mean, I was having a conversation with someone in my house, and then 5 minutes later, Instagram was showing me ads about what we were talking about.
Oh, all the time. Facebook is always trying to tell me about stuff that I was thinking. I wasn't even talking about out loud.
Oh wow,
it's crazy.
That's a level up. But you know what? This is what we signed up to, right?
Facts.
The lazy consciousness is signing up for this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a matter of just turning off flicking some switches. You know, when it tells you about the cookies when you go on the website, you can say no. You don't have to get tracked everywhere by that website you went to, but you have to exercise some conscious choice and say no. But we don't even want to read those things at the bottom of the page anymore. We just click X and then complain later.
Yeah.
Those ads everywhere. You can turn the microphone off in Instagram and Facebook. You can turn it off.
Put aside the part about the not having read the terms, because I don't think anybody. I've actually read terms, but most people don't.
I do.
I don't.
I do.
Yeah, but most people don't. But even put that part aside for a moment. Isn't it amazing how just I'll call it lack of common sense for lack of a better way to describe it. People who may not have read the terms but would not normally agree with those terms or like those terms, if they did read them, will still not hesitate to go onto a platform like Facebook and tell the world all their business and then wonder why it keeps coming back to them. I mean, forget the terms of service. You know, why are you doing it in the first place? And then being surprised. I'm not saying there's anything wrong necessarily with doing it in the first place, but being surprised about it later.
They're not using their mind, though, Big Wall. They're not using their mind. They're not exercising sovereignty. They're not exercising discernment. They're not exercising anything other than playing out lazy patterns.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. And then they wonder why they're still broke, still not feeling healthy, right? Still in perpetually disempowering relationships that don't move them forward. You're not applying any of your divinely given gifts to create your life at all levels. We're not even talking at the most basic level. You can actually choose. Oh, but I have to live here because of this and that and that and this. Oh, I could never do that. Or that's too much and this is too difficult. Okay, well, if that's the agreement that you're subscribing to, then have fun. I'm not interested in listening to you complain about it. It's like friends of mine that ask for my advice and then don't follow up on it. If you don't take my advice once, the next time you ask me for my advice, I'll tell you plainly, I'm not wasting my time giving it to you.
Absolutely.
Facts.
Why should
I'm
you
not
bother?
going to validate you just playing out this victim thing, telling a story. I'm not serving you, and I'm certainly not serving myself spending time talking to you about it. You know, own your power, step into your power, and start living in that power.
And that is another form of reprogramming. I mean, the whole victimhood thing, that's probably one of the most deeply written programs that we have in our subconscious minds. You know, so it's going to take a little bit to overcome it. It's going to take a little bit to rewrite it. It's
and
worth it.
Some awareness. Like I said,
there's a lot of awareness.
There are Oscars going around here. There are Oscars going around because, look, if you're only 15 years old, you spent 15 years learning the script, learning the lines of that role that you're playing right now, stepping into a new role. I mean, look at the people from Friends. There's only one of them. Well, actually, no. What's the name? Monica Geller. Who played Monica? Courtney Cox. She did some really drastically disruptive roles after that in order to sort of break the relationship to it. Right. But a lot of them, it just didn't work. Joey tried to be Joey and just wasn't that funny without his friends. And then ended up on episodes playing himself, Matt LeBlanc, because he just was unable to break free from it. What's her name? Phoebe just ended up being Phoebe in a series of really sad films that weren't that funny. Chandler tried to be someone else and just was still Chandler.
I don't even remember him in anything besides Friends.
The whole 9 yards where he was just Chandler.
Right.
Then there was another thing that was just really whack, whatever. Like Rachel was the only person that managed to do something different. She was able to go and play a different role. Many people just get stuck in the same role. They're doing it in their lives now. They've spent decades and decades and decades learning that script, learning that narrative, learning those same routines, and then not even understanding that they have the power to change it, and just reciting the same lines, having the same coffee at the same time every day, the same conversation, complaining about the same stuff, eating lunch in the same place with the same person they don't like for the same reason they liked them yesterday, and then wondering why their life is just not what they love.
Mm-hmm. That's well said, beautifully said. I was noticing also in our live stream that, as usual, the live streamers are carrying on the conversation as we're carrying it on. It's like it's like that programmed computer. We're typing into the computer and it's coming back to us. The same thing's happening here, and it's actually somebody I think Alafia King.
Hi, Mom.
Having a conversation with Jeffrey. And she said, attachment to the lack, I'm guilty of that. And Jeffrey replies, be easy with yourself. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah, Mom, Jeffrey's good people.
He's very good. Very, very good.
Great gifts.
No doubt about it.
By the way, Mom, this is Dan. Doesn't he look like Cousin Dennis? She's not answering, but it's okay. No, seriously, you look just like my cousin. It's crazy.
Well, doppelgangers are real.
Facts. And that's it.
Yeah, they hang out with the unicorns. So,
as we are now. Oh man.
Okay. Well, this has been good. This is good because I didn't know how to headline the show. I didn't know how to title it, but it was becoming really apparent to me. We have this tendency to not buy into our own power, and we kind of have gone into the deep end here of being in a victim mode and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's not just the victims who do that. It's the skilled LOA practitioners who do it. It's the people who are even new to it, who are trying to find their way. We all fall into this pattern.
We've all typecasted ourselves.
Yeah, we keep replaying the old tapes and keep buying into them, and in the process, when something does happen, we say, "Oh, that was cool," and maybe I've even celebrated it. Maybe I'm feeling good about it, and then 5 minutes later, oh, did I really do that? And Dan is practically having a fit.
It's real. It's really, really real. Like those unconscious patterns that we perpetually play out that we don't consciously choose. Like it is a real thing. And until people start owning what those are, sometimes because they don't like the look of the shadow of it, until we do that, we're not going to be in a position to create a different outcome, because we're not going to make new choices, because we're going to keep making choices from the same vibration, which is keeping us perpetuating the same experiences.
Of course, the good side is that once we do start taking that responsibility, once we do start actively doing what we can, even if we're just to heck with baby steps, taking staggering drunken steps because we're really not sure how to go about doing it, just taking steps. Five steps 180 degrees in the wrong direction and realize we got to turn around. I mean, anything to break that pattern breaks the pattern. It really does.
Yeah.
Just move. I mean, I wrote an article. It's on my Medium page. The lazy choice. It's like, even if you are choosing to stay where you are, even if you're choosing to stay in bed and eat Nutella on cookies all day, like choose it. And by choosing it, you've empowered yourself, because you're not just falling into it. You've made the conscious choice to do it. And as you start to do that, you step more deeply into your power, and then you can start making more empowering, expansive choices going forward. But you must start to choose, even if it is that staggered, drunken move. It's a move, not just staying.
Those little steps. I mean, when you say the words baby steps, this is kind of what I heard when you first used that phrase. You take the little baby steps. My first inclination in my back of my mind was to dismiss it or discount it because they're baby steps.
That's what people do. Yeah. Well, you will be surprised. I mean, my Micro to Millions group, which is the longest running sort of long-term group program that I've ever done. We've been doing it all year. There were some people who at the beginning were really excited. Oh yeah, I'm going to create massive abundance. But when I said, yeah, but you've got to start with learning how to manifest $100 or £100.
Right.
I need thousands. Oh, sorry, I haven't got time for this. You know, I need big
Wow.
And that's what people are doing, because they've got an understanding that those baby steps, those people that consistently made those baby steps, are the people now that are manifesting hundreds and tens of thousands regularly and accumulating massive wealth, because they're prepared to take those baby steps of moving through 100 and 200 and small sums. But those who are like, oh, you know, I can manifest this amount of money by myself, I don't think I need this program anymore. I'm like, okay, cool.
Then why were you here in the first place if you could do it yourself?
Well, it's an interesting thing, because I mean, I've actually done what you described. I have started something like that and stopped. And where I stopped, I realized was the point where I finally reached that threshold in my mind that my mind said, no, you really can't do that one. You can do the ones up to that point, but that one you can't really do.
You hit your edge. Your edge. And that is where the real work happens, like in the gym. Yep. It's those last 2 reps. I was really hurting today in the gym, but it's those 2 reps that you don't really want to do. Those are the ones where the magic happens. That's when you reach your edge and you move through it, and that's where the results come. It's the same with the edge with our relationships, or with our friendships, or with our career, and with our abundance. We hit that edge, and that is where the actual work begins. Everything before that is warm up. This is when it's go. You know, it's go time here at the edge.
Facts.
But the edge is where we run away. The edge is where we revert back. The edge is where we go back to the program. The edge is where we go back to the regularly scheduled broadcast. That's where that happens. That's where we have to dig in. That's where the choices really happen. Everyone can do love and light until that love and light is really tested.
Well, the edge is scary.
It's high up here.
Yeah.
and that's okay. But, you know, if you get to the edge, some people get to the edge and pull back, but if you get to the edge, take a deep breath, maybe take a step back and then shuffle forward.
Okay.
And take a half step back and shuffle forward. Take a half step back if you must do, and shuffle forward, but keep on shuffling forward. And this, I think, is where the micro shifting really happens, because if I've micro shifted every step up to the edge, I've celebrated it and built that momentum, gone through some smaller edges, found deliberately smaller edges to work through so that I can experience what it's like to go through the edge, celebrate it, and know that it's safe to go through that edge. When I get to those bigger edges, the momentum is such that my mind's like, oh, this is an edge. We've been doing this already. This is what we do. And we move through with grace and ease. When we hit those financial edges, if we spend our time cultivating a momentum of commitment to ourselves and integrity to our goals, and actually making things happen and moving through each and every one of those edges, consistently finding where our edges and pushing it just a little bit, then when it gets to go time, when we need to push an edge, we're already practiced. We're already in the groove. That is the new program. The new program is I'm someone that gets to my edge and enjoys going through it, even if there's some contrast, even if there's some tension, even if there's some pullback, even if there's some ickiness. I know what's on the other side because I've been practicing that consistently.
And by the way, it's a funny thing that happens when you go after that edge, because I described how I was doing that with a money thing, and for me, the edge was at $250. I had manifested everything up to $250, and then it stopped, and I got frustrated, and then I said, you know, I'm going to break through this, and so I did some work to break through it, and then I got distracted and went off to do some other stuff. And within a couple of months, all of a sudden, I inherited over $40,000. Like, whoa, what?
Nice. See, as long as you got distracted from your cap, that's great.
Like you said at the beginning, Walt, it's be distracted from it long enough to make a different choice.
Yeah.
Distraction is key.
And in so doing, all my resistance goes away. And when the resistance goes away, amazing stuff shows up.
That's so true.
Factually.
Hey, while we're got a minute left here, I just want to remind people who are not yet subscribers, become a subscriber. Real simple to do. Go to loatoday.net, and also follow us on YouTube. How do they follow us on YouTube, Alex?
Go to YouTube and search LOA Today podcast videos, and once you see our smiling faces, you can go down below, hit the red subscribe button, go to the right or left, I forget which one it is, and hit the silver bell, and make sure you click all so you will always be notified when we're live.
And we apologize to those of you who are deaf who could not actually see Dan's motions there, but he was trying to sign for the deaf while we were doing that. So thank you.
He's a Vanna White when we're doing the announcements.
Hi guys, I don't see any evidence of that on YouTube. Therefore.
It's true. It's only one frame at a time. Yeah.
Yes, facts.
But good stuff, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you to our live stream listeners. Thank you to especially to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.